Chapter 1 Skin tight, like a drum. Autumn comes early in Breslau. The wind rises from the Oder River and moves through the stone streets. It carries old fears with it. In the mornings, fog covers the city. When the church bell rings, the sound stays in the air, as if even God is unsure in this place. Weinrickius, the shoemaker, had a shop near St. Elizabeth Church. In his window polished leather shoes were always displayed. Very different from the poor streets around them. People said he was lucky. He had money, no debts, no wife. His life was quiet and ordered until that morning. The first person who found him was his apprentice, Lucas. He was only 17 years old. When he opened the door, he smelled blood, not leather. Fresh blood. Weinrickius was lying in the back room near the cutting table. His throat was cut very deeply. The cut was clean, careful, almost professional. There were no signs of fear or pain. The knife was on the table, the same knife he used every day to cut leather. But Lucas noticed something strange. Weinrickius's face was calm. There was no fear, no regret. His lips were slightly open, as if he had whispered something before dying. Priest Conrad led the funeral. Suicide was a sin, but Weinrickius was rich, and money can soften rules. The bells rang, prayers were spoken. The coffin was closed. Weinrickius was buried one day after his death. Later, people would say this was too fast. The first stories began on the third night. A woman said she woke up because her bed sank down. She felt a weight, like a human body. But the room was empty. Another woman came to church with bruises on her arms. The marks looked like fingers. Priest Conrad told them to pray and trust God. But fear does not listen to prayers. People whispered, "Someone lay in my bed." I felt his breath. Cold hands held me. And everyone said the same thing. The hands were cold. For 7 months, Breslau did not sleep. People said they saw Weinrickius at night, walking in the streets, standing near houses, waiting in the shadow of the church. Then fear reached the cemetery. A gravedigger came running at dawn. His face was white. The ground was moving, he said. It was breathing. After that, there was no turning back. In March 1592, a decision was made. Weinrickius's grave would be opened. Priest Conrad was there. City officers were there. 2 butchers and a gravedigger stood close together. No one wanted to stand alone. When the coffin was opened, no one spoke. The body was not decayed. His skin was tight. So tight that one butcher whispered, "Like a drum." His face looked the same as on the day he was buried. When they removed his shoe, They saw it. On his foot was a rose-shaped birthmark. No one said it out loud, but everyone thought the same thing. A witch's mark. The body was moved and buried under the gallows. That place was for criminals and cursed people. But the nights did not change. People still woke up. They still felt the weight. They still found bruises. So the butchers were called again. The body was cut into pieces. When they removed the heart, one man cried, because the heart was fresh. One butcher said, it looks like the heart of a young calf. Then everything was burned. Flesh, bones, heart. The ashes were thrown into the Oder River. And finally, Breslau slept. But even now, when the wind comes from the river, some people still feel it. The bed sinking, cold hands, and a whisper. It is not finished. Chapter 2. The Rose-Shaped Mark. People did not like to talk about Weinrickus's childhood. In Breslau. People believed that some questions were dangerous, because some answers could bring fear. After the grave was opened, Priest Conrad could not sleep. When he closed his eyes, he saw the body. The tight skin, the calm face, his prayers felt empty. The words of the Bible did not help him. But most of all, he thought about the mark. Dear Rosie, Weinrickus was not born in Breslau. People said he came from a small village near the Oder River. There were 2 stories about his mother. One story said she died during birth. The other story said she was burned. People whispered the second story. She was accused of witchcraft. In those times, people believed that evil could pass from a parent to child. The church did not teach this clearly, but fear was stronger than rules. The rose-shaped mark on Weinrickus's foot made people remember these fears. Priest Conrad visited Marta, the oldest woman in the town. She had lived through many deaths. People said she understood the cemetery better than the church. When Conrad spoke about the rose, Marta looked down. That mark, she said, is a flower that opens with blood. Conrad felt cold. Some children, Marta continued, are marked when they are born. When they die, the earth does not take them. Conrad asked quietly, what about the soul? Marta answered softly, the soul was never ours. Weinrickus's money was also strange. He was only a shoemaker, but he was very rich. People did not remember many customers. Sometimes he had foreign coins, sometimes silver. Once, someone asked him, where does your money come from? Weinrickus smiled. Feet carry more than you think, he said. No one understood. After the body was burned, the town became quiet. But quiet does not always mean peace. One evening, Priest Conrad walked near the Oder River. For a moment, he thought he saw something red on the water, like a rose petal. Blinking. Nothing was there. That night, he dreamed of what the shoemaker was not burned. He was not broken. His skin was still tight. The rose on his foot was moving, like it was alive. Weinrickus leaned close and whispered, you gave me to the water, not to the earth. The next day, a child drowned in the Oder River. The body was found 3 days later. The skin was tight. Chapter 3. Breath under the river. The Oder River moves slowly through breath. It is calm on the surface, but people believe it hides money. Ting. After the child drowned, Fear returned to the town. The boy's name was Elias. He was 7 years old. His mother was washing clothes near the river. She looked away for only a moment. When she turned back, the child was gone. There was no sound, no splash, only quiet water. When the body was found 3 days later, people noticed something strange. The skin was pale but tight. There was no fear on his face. His lips were slightly open, just like Weinrickius. Priest Conrad stopped praying. When he opened the Bible, he did not see the words. He only heard the river. In his mind, the water was breathing, slow and deep. One of the butchers spoke quietly while looking at the body. This child did not rot in the water. Another man made the sign of the cross. The river did not take him. After this, people asked the same question in silence. 10 would deed. Fishermen stopped working at night. Their nets did not come back empty. They found strange things inside. Old skin-dot human hair. One something red, shaped like a flower. One fisherman, drunk and shaking, said, "Someone is walking under the water." The next day, he disappeared. Priest Conrad went back to Marta. Before he spoke, she said, burning was not enough. Conrad felt fear in his chest. He tied himself to the land. Marta said, "Fire cannot break that." "What about the river?" Conrad asked. Marta looked at him. "Water carries what the earth remembers." People remembered something old. Long ago, near Weinrickius's shop, animals were cut. Blood flowed into the river. Leather was cleaned with water and salt. Blood, leather, water. People believed that when these things came together, the dead could be called back. That night, an adult disappeared. A man woke up and felt his bed sink. Cold hands touched him. He could not move. In the morning, his house was empty. The door was locked. The windows were closed. Only the bed was wet. Priest Conrad went to the river at night. He knelt near the water. "If you are here," he said, "leave this town." The water did not move. But he felt cold around his feet, like hands touching him from below. Chapter 4. Between leather and blood. Weinrickius's shop was closed with wooden boards. The windows were dark. The door was locked. But people still walked faster when they passed it. Some places feel more open when they are closed. Priest Conrad took the key from the city officers. The man gave it with fear. "If something is still inside," he said, "it is not from God." When the door opened, old hair came out. The smell was strong. Old leather, rust, and something else. Iron and salt. The smell of blood that never leaves. The back room did not look like a normal workshop. It looked like a secret place. There were marks on the walls. Not random. They looked counted. Under the table, Conrad found rolled leather, but it was strange leather. It had the exact shape of human feet. Some pieces had names cut into them. Conrad's hands shook. On one piece he saw E.L. 1587, the first letters of the drowned child. People remembered the shoes. Weinrickius's shoes lasted very long. The owners died, but the shoes stayed. Some people were buried with the shoes on. When graves were opened later, their feet were hurt and damaged. One butcher remembered something. There was a man buried with his shoes. When we opened the grave, His feet were stuck to the earth. Before, it sounded like a story. Now, it sounded true. Priest Conrad remembered Marta's words. He was a shoemaker. He made things that tie people to the ground. The shoes were not for walking. They were for not leaving. That night, 3 people had the same dream. They tried to walk, but their shoes were heavy. The ground pulled them down. From under the earth, a voice said, "Come back." In the morning, all 3 people were gone. In their houses, one thing was the same. They all wore Wainakiosi shoes. Priest Conrad made a decision. Not fire, not water, not earth. He would break the bond at the source. All the shoes would be taken. Old shoes, new sewers, shoes from graves, hidden sewers. People did not want to give them up. For some, shoes were their only wealth, but fear was stronger than poverty. The shoes were piled under the old gallows, a mountain of leather and nails. Priest Conrad lit the fire. As the flames rose, the Oder River moved strongly. And then everyone heard it. Not a scream, not anger, a long breath ending, like someone letting go after a very long time. Before the fire died, Conrad saw something. Inside the flames, a footprint shaped like a rose. Chapter V. Where the breath ends. When the fire went out, Breslau was quiet. But this silence was different. It was not full of fear. It was full of tiredness. The town felt like it had carried something heavy for a long time and finally put it down. The Oder River became calm again. The water went back to its normal level. The next day, fishermen caught only fish. Nothing strange. People slept. Beds did not sink. No one woke up with bruises. The town wanted to believe it was safe. Priest Conrad did not believe it. He could not forget what he saw. In the fire, the footprint was clear. It was not on earth. It was not on wood. It looked like it stood on stone, and the rose was still open. That night, Priest Conrad prayed alone under the gallows, but he did not pray to God. He spoke to himself. If there is a price, he said, I will. That night, he dreamed again. He saw one. The shoemaker was stuck in the ground up to his knees. His skin was dry and cracked. The tightness was gone. You tied me, Weinrikia said, but the earth always remembers. Conrad answered, remembering is not the same as calling back. Weinrikia smiled, not yet. Priest Conrad was found dead the next morning. His throat was not cut. His body was not burned. He was not broken. His feet were bare. On the stone floor under his feet, there were 2 rose-shaped marks. Conrad was buried in holy ground, but his shoes were not buried with him. People understood now. Some things must not go into the ground with a person. Years passed. Breslau changed. Names changed. Languages changed, but the river stayed. And sometimes, when the wind came from the Oder River, people felt something strange. Under their feet, the slow breath of the earth. Chapter Vi. The name the earth remembers. Breslau, 1631. The town was no longer the same. Wars had passed. Many people had died. Hunger and sickness had touched every street, but the Oder River was still there. Old people did not call it only a river anymore. They used another name, very quietly. They're remembering water. A new shoemaker came to the town. His name was Jacob Heine. It was young. He was skilled, and he did not believe old stories. When older shoemakers warned him, he laughed. They said, "Do not cut leather alone. Do not write your name inside a shoe. Do not fix shoes from the dead." Jacob answered, "Leather is leather. Ground is ground." This was a sentence people should not say in Breslau. One day Jacob found leather near the Oder River. The water had carried it there. It felt soft. Toe soft. He made a pair of shoes from it. The man who wore the shoes felt pain the next day. His feet became heavy. After 3 days, the man died. Jacob started to dream. He saw a man in the ground. Only his upper body was free. The man did not speak. He lifted his foot. On the stone under it was a rose-shaped mark. New stories spread in the town. A child could not move while walking near the river. A soldier asked to be buried with his shoes. A woman woke up at night feeling her feet held. The priests were new. The churches were repaired. But fear was the same. Jacob found old city records, burned pages, broken words. One name appeared again and again, Weinricius next to it. A note. The name was given to the earth, but the bond was not broken. Jacob finally felt fear. At night, Jacob went to the Oder River. He knelt near the water. "If you want a name," he said, "take mine." The water moved, but it did not answer. Because some bonds are not made with names, they are made with actions. Jacob disappeared the next morning. In his shop, people found one thing. A half-made shoe. Inside it, scratched with a nail, was a small mark. A rose. Years later, the town wrote. New rules. They were not laws on paper, but everyone followed them. No leather from the river. No shoes made alone. No names inside shoes. And one last rule, never spoken aloud. Some names, once remembered by the earth, are never forgotten. Final note. Long after, workers found bones near the Oder River. They were placed carefully, like one body, but the feet had no shoes. A city clerk wrote in the margin, "The earth refused the shoes." Sometimes, when the wind comes from the river, people walk faster. Because under stone and soil, they feel it for a moment. The breath of the earth, and if someone listens very carefully, they may hear a quiet voice say, "Walking does not always mean leaving." Don't forget to subscribe for more stories.